Hey everyone. It's December 1st at 9:56 p.m. It's 2015, and I wanted to make a video because A, I haven't made a video in forever, and B, I think what I'm going to talk about is actually important. It's important to me, but I also think that this is just something that seems to be a misconception in the trans community that I kind of wanted to set the record straight on. Um, so I feel like because I'm trans, I've encountered this, that people are under the assumption that I knew that I was trans when I was younger. If people talk to me, they'll say, well, you never identified as a female. Like, you've always been a boy. You always felt like you were a boy. And to that, I have to say, no, I did not. There's just this common thought that we all knew when we were 5 years old, and, that we knew we were trans, whether you were a female to male, that when your mom put you in a dress and it was time to go to church, that it didn't fit you, that you felt uncomfortable, that you were always ripping off your dress and saying, no, I'm a boy. Or that if you were a male to female transgender person, that you played with Barbies because you always knew that you were trans, that you never identified as a male, that you're disgusted by your body parts and all of this stuff. And I just, no. I, personally speaking, I did not know I was transgender until my 20s, but I did not come to terms with it and start discovering my gender identity where I could say for sure I'm transgender until last year, and I'm 25 years old. When I identified as female, I was 95 to 98% comfortable in my role as a female. I wore makeup. I did all the stereotypical things that girls did. I wore makeup. I had a boyfriend. I did sports. I played tennis and I did track, and I, wore spandex skirts with high heels on my birthday and a low-cut shirt. And, I always hated painting my nails, though. That was not something that I did. But I did all of the gendered activities and stereotypes that come along with being a female. Not all of it fit all the time. Some of it was, not my favorite. Like I said, I didn't like painting my nails. Like, does that make me trans because I didn't like painting my nails? No. But there were times that I felt uncomfortable in my body. But it wasn't until last year, because it's almost January, but not really, because it's December 1st, that I was able to say, nope, I identify as male. And I just think that there's just this broad misconception, and it almost invalidates my gender identity in a sense to say, it invalidates my old gender identity to say, people have said to me, well, you never identified as female. That's not true. I just think that people need to be careful in assuming people's identities. Like, why don't you ask me how I knew I was trans instead of just saying, oh, well, you knew when you were a little girl that... No. Ask me and I'll tell you. It's that simple. There are plenty of trans people that did know when they were young, but there's also a lot of trans people that didn't know until they were older. Look at Aiden Dowling. He didn't know he was trans until his 20s. I didn't know I was trans until I was 25, and then 8 months later, I started medically transitioning by taking testosterone. Like, everyone's on their own different journey. I know older people who haven't realized they're trans until they're like in their 40s or 50s and start transitioning. And look at Caitlyn Jenner. She's 65, I think, and just started transitioning and came to terms with the fact that she's trans. All I'm trying to say is we didn't all know that we were trans when we were children, but that does not make my identity, my feelings, my maleness any less valid than someone that knew when they were a kid. It doesn't change anything at all. It is what it is. So I just think we should maybe be a little more cognizant of the fact that not everyone has the same story when it comes to being trans. Like, we all go down different paths. We all, it's not cut and dry when you're questioning your gender identity. So, yeah, especially for me, I guess I just wish that people wouldn't assume that, because there were times when I identified as a female that I was really happy. I would not go back and change my life. Yes, it would be a lot easier to have been born a cis male, but I also think that I am a much better, stronger, mature person. I know who I am because I'm transgender, because I had to question everything about myself. It would have been easier to be born a cis male, but I'm proud and happy that I'm transgender. Because I'm a self-made man now. Like, how many people get to say that they created who they are from the ground up? I think that's a pretty spectacular thing. So, yeah, all I'm trying to say is just don't assume things about people's trans identities, because we don't all have the same story. We take different paths to become who we are, and that's a really beautiful thing. So just don't diminish us to the same narrative.